Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to talk about the Majohn or Moonman T2. This is the T2 and it's very similar to the Stipula Ventidue-22, which I reviewed several videos ago. This is one of my favorite pens. I also have one that's black body with a red ink window. But this is the Majohn version. You see they're very similar. Both have the same end finial. Yeah, then you have a metal lower body here. You have a metal ring. Then you have the resin ink window. And then you see the caps are also very similar. Clips differ a little bit, but not very much. And the top finials are pretty much the same, except for the Stipula has a little leaf there. Other than that, they're pretty similar cosmetically. They do have some differences that are pretty important that I'll speak to in a second. As you can see, there are the ink windows. The Stipula does have a nicer taper to the ink window, which is much more comfortable in the hand. The Majohn does have a little bit of a taper too, but the threads are quite a bit rougher on the hand than the threads on the Stipula. The Stipula actually has a little metal piece here in between the ink window that feels even better on the hand. You see, those are the ink windows, about the same size. But the important difference in these two pens, which gives the Moonman a bit of an edge, is the filling system. I credit Moonman for improving on the Stipula. The Stipula uses the traditional piston fill system, but this is very stiff and very hard to turn. So if you have any hand weakness issues, this is not the pen for you. It's very, very hard to turn. I have strong hands, but it's turning for me. But just imagine being over a sink trying to clean this and just wrestling with it, wrestling over and over again, twisting, untwisting, untwisting. So this is a pain to clean. So if you don't want to deal with that pain, just keep the same ink in it. This improves quite a bit in that you unscrew this and you have what they call a elastic piston system or a spring system, which is like if you're familiar with the Con 70, it also uses a push type of a system. So all you have to do is just stick this in the ink and just push down and it fills. And same with cleaning, you just put it in the water and just keep pushing down as opposed to twisting, untwisting, twisting, untwisting. So that's a lot more convenient, I think. So this is what it looks like. It's a solid build. It's a solid metal piece here. And the body here is all metal. Threads are metal on metal. And there's the section and the bead. The section on the whole body of the Majohn is it's a little bit bigger than the Stipula. As you can see, it's bigger and it's a little girthier. And the same with the section. The section is just a little bit bigger and girthier on the Moonman than the Stipula. Oops. That's what I get for twisting this. But they're both equally, I think, comfortable. No one's really more comfortable than the other. There they are side by side. So we'll talk about some weights. This is an extra fine version and this is the fine version. So the Majohn T2, I'm going to put the specs and dimensions on the screen. The Majohn T2 is 53.3 grams capped and 33.5 grams uncapped. The Stipula Ventidue-22 is 58.1 grams capped and 34.1 grams uncapped. So it's a little bit heavier. And I also have here a Wingsung 3024, which is considerably lighter, but it does share some visual similarities to the two pens. This one is 21.5 grams capped and 13.2 grams uncapped. It also uses the spring or elastic piston filling system. So that's why I thought I'd include this as well. As you can see, it also has the ink window. And there's its extra fine nib, a smaller nib. But, this is also a good option. So these two pens are I bought on eBay. They're both $24.84 each. And the seller was Pens World, and it came to me about 7 to 9 days, which isn't bad. The clip is pretty firm, but if you can get a good grip on it, it's a little springy. This pen here was $126, and my black and red version was $239, so it's quite a bit more expensive. And a nice springy clip as well. This Wingsung 3024 was 4 pens for $15, so it's quite cheap, less than $4 a pen, and it performs well. The clip is firm and springy as well, but I'll talk about this one in a little bit. So I'm going to start with some writing samples for the two Majohn or Moonman T2s. Show you really quickly. This is the T1. The only thing they really share is an ink window. Otherwise, they're very different. And this one is, the T1 is kind of a big Kaweco Sport. I actually have a Kaweco clip on it. So it's a piston filler, and it's a very heavy pen as well, very solid. So I just wanted to show you the T1 in case you were wondering. The T1 is available on Amazon, and it's available on Amazon Prime. These are available on Amazon, but they're not Prime shipping. This one is available on Amazon, comes next day. So I'll start with the extra fine. So that's the nib there. And there's the feed. You can see here on the ink window it says Moonman. Very nice ink window. It feels about the same quality and thickness as the Stipula. So the pen is the Majohn / Moonman T2. Did this nib. Oop. I have a very dry ink in here, and I don't think it likes it too much. Let me prime it a little bit. I am just making a mess. So let's see, the nib is an extra fine stainless steel. The ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyo Seal Gun. This is Fuyo Seal Gun. It's a nice gray. But you can also get it to go to black. There's the no really line weight variation to speak of. It's a pretty firm nib. Does okay in reverse, not bad. Good for drawing. The one thing I like about the Fuyo Seal Gun is that it feels like you're writing on graphite almost. So let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see a little better. So that's the Fuyo Seal Gun, extra fine here. So I'm going to start with the fine. I'm going to switch to my left hand. So pen. Again, it's a Majohn Moonman T2. The nib on this one is a fine stainless steel. The ink in here is Monteverde. This is Mercury Noir. Yes, this is a nice deep red maroonish ink. And again, a firm nib, no line weight variation. But it does give you some nice shading. And reverse, it's nice and reverse. It's a little bit smoother than the extra fine. And again, these are $24.84 on eBay. The seller was Pens World. And these come in extra fine, fine, medium, and bent. And the seller described the extra fine to medium as original nib, so I'm assuming that's the Moonman nib, as you can see here. And the bent nib was described as not original, so I'm assuming that they're using another vendor for the bent nib. But all in all, very nice pen. And I'll do some pros and cons in a second. I'm just gonna write with the Stipula while I have it here. So again, this is a Stipula Ventidue-22. And this has, look at that. Ugh. This has Birmingham Pen Company, Boilerstein. And it's a fine stainless steel. So very nice as well. It's definitely a better writer than the Moonman, but the Moonman is not far off. So that's the Stipula. Again, I'll show you the nib on the Stipula and the feed. It's covered since I was messing with the piston knob. I've made a mess here. So again, this is the Wingsung. I'll show you how this writes too. It has the diamine, I believe it's the Shimmering Seas, if I'm not mistaken. One of the shimmering inks. These Wingsungs do well with shimmering inks. So if you don't want to put the shimmering ink in a more expensive pen, I would use the Wingsungs. I also have a Wingsung 300. I'm not sure, 8 or something, that I put the shimmering inks in, and they do well with the shimmers. So this is the Wingsung 3024. Again, very firm nib, but you can see it does really well with that shimmer. Doesn't really skip a hard start or anything. And the ink is, as I said, diamond shimmering. I think it's shimmering seas, I'm not sure. And this is an extra fine stainless steel. There's the nib. And these are again 4 for $15. And my Stipula, this Stipula again was $126, and my other was $239. So quite a bit more expensive than the other two. So this is a, as I said, a really nice option. It uses the same filling system as the Moonman. So I'm going to get into some pros and cons on the Moonman. Move this up. Pros and cons. And this is for the T2. So pros, the nib, good nib. It's reliable. Smooth, but not overly so. And it's okay in reverse. Comfortable grip. It's not slippery at all. You can get really a nice grip on this. It's good size. A nice ink window. I love ink windows. They're so helpful. The plunger system, or the what they call the elastic piston system. So that's just, it's easier to clean and fill. And it just posts solidly. So it does post. And it doesn't really add any back weight or anything. It does feel comfortable posted. It's a little long, but it doesn't feel bad posted. Cons, it's a copy. It's obvious that it's a copy of the Stipula. And the matte finish, while I love matte finishes, they are prone to scuffing and what I call shiny spots, and I'll show you here. Show you here on the Stipula. See there? This is after, it's after several months. I pretty much carry this one every day to work. So this is just it, you know, being in my case and flopping around maybe. But you can see there's some shiny spots on this matte finish. And that's one reason not to post it. I'm assuming that the same thing is going to happen to the Moonman at some point. It's going to get scuffed and some shiny parts, but that remains to be seen. It is heavy, like the Ventidue, it is heavy. Although it doesn't really feel heavy in my hand, but it is a heavy, it's 50-some grams. No line weight variation, if that matters to you. And this, the threads are a little scratchy. And other than that, this is a pretty good option if you don't want to spend $100 to $200 on a Ventidue, and it does, I think, improve on the Ventidue in the filling system. The Ventidue still remains one of my favorite pens. The piston system is just very hard to clean. And this is also a good option if you just want 4 pins to just knock around. This also works very well. I kept 2 of these extra fine, and I ground down the other 2 so they could be more of a fine point. But this is a good option as well. So 4 for $15 for the Stipula, 129 to 126 to 239, and these are both about $25 each. So that's the Moonman T2. Very good pen. You just have to be cognizant when you're going to uncap it, that if you try to uncap it using this, you're going to probably unscrew this portion instead. So just got to remember to, look at all the ink. Just have to remember to uncap it using the ink window as a grip instead. That's the Moonman T2. So until next time, I hope you're all doing well, and take care.